हाय ताहिर जी। आदाब।
जी नमस्ते नमस्ते थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी प्लीज
नमस्ते। Hi viewers, greetings from Setu. We are back again with a very distinguished guest today, a very progressive, liberal, and high-profile author, poet, political commentator, and the founder of Tag TV, a very popular TV channel of North America and beyond, Dr. Tahir Aslam Gora ji.
थैंक यू जी
It's great pleasure for Setu to host Dr. Tahir Gora today for the 18th episode of the limited video series of literary and critical conversations. Dr. Gora is a recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal for his services in Canada, among other notable honors and achievements. This polyglot is a highly respected name across the world. Here's a brief introduction of our guest. Dr. Tahir Aslam Gora is a Canadian broadcaster, editor, publisher, and writer of fiction and non-fiction. He is a founder and CEO of Tag TV. His shows on YouTube have received more than 100 million views. A big applause for this big viewership. He has written 5 novels, 3 collections of short stories, and 2 collections of poems in Hindi and Urdu languages. I have a few here with me. The important ones, Al-Pakistan is here, a novel. Tehzeebi Ranjishein, another novel. And this is a poetry collection, Manzar Aankhon Mein Thehre Rehte Hain. He is a founder of Tag TV, and he calls himself a Hindu born in Muslim faith. He is also the founder and CEO of Canadian Thinkers Forum. And something I learned quite late, that he also holds a medical degree from a renowned Pakistani university. On behalf of Setu, I extend a hearty welcome to Dr. Tahir Aslam Gora. Now, may I request you, sir, to read a favorite excerpt or a poem of yours?
जी thank you very much having me and your show. Since I write poems in Urdu and they have been translated into English as well by Dr. Sunil Sharma ji, some of those poems, and also in Hindi. So I'll read that poem in Urdu and then we'll resume our conversation in English, whatever medium you would like to have. So the poem is एक नज़्म गुलहरी के लिए। जाली सा लगता है एक सजा सजाया घर भी, और उसके चेहरे के पीछे छुपे 6 चेहरों के नीचे का धड़ भी। जाली सा लगता है एक सजा सजाया घर भी, और उसके चेहरे के पीछे छुपे 6 चेहरों के नीचे का धड़ भी, उसकी हंसी में दबी बतीसी भी, और मेरे किचकचाते दांतों की बेबसी भी। फिर असल क्या है, फिर असल क्या है, एक बेतरतीब सा कमरा, मैला कुचैला चेहरा, उसके बालों से सरसों के तेल की उमट आती हो। फिर असल क्या है, एक बेतरतीब सा कमरा, मैला कुचैला चेहरा, जिसके बालों से सरसों के तेल की उमक आती हो, जैसे किसी ने $1 के 5 समोसे खाए हों। और फिर क्या जिंदगी में कोई शय बामानी भी लगती है, और फिर क्या जिंदगी में कोई शय बामानी भी लगती है? हाँ, एक फटा हुआ कागज और उस पर लिखी हुई एक नज्म जो किसी की समझ में ना आए, मगर उसको एक गुलहरी गुनगुना कर गाए।
बहुत खूबसूरत, बहुत बढ़िया, रियलिस्टिक description. To begin with the conversation, may I request you to briefly tell us about your exciting roller coaster journey as a globe-trotting media personality, political commentator, and journalistic writing for some top publications in UK, USA, Canada, among others?
No, thank you very much. You asked me so many things in one question, and you used a very, a high appreciation, which of course I do not deserve, but I really appreciate your kind words. In terms of my so-called achievements, what I would say, I would say so-called achievements. So in terms of so-called achievement, there is nothing to mention. The only achievement perhaps I can mention here is about the meaningfulness of my own life. Everyone writes, some do business, some are doctors,
Correct.
some are politicians. But as a journalist and as a writer, I feel my contribution, in fact, is only towards myself. Because whatever I did, whatever I'm doing, whatever I would do, it would contribute to understand myself. And, the life itself is kind of a flow of water. Water keep flowing. And we think that we are creating an impact. But in the end, if I see my contribution, it is probably not an impact for anyone. It is basically an impact for myself. That I have led a little purposeful, little meaningful life. If I had not done what I had did, I would say then probably there would not be meaningfulness in my life. So, these are my honest and true answers to your very complex question, I would say. But I understand writers, journalists usually give us sort of a broad scenario about their journey, and they tell that how many books they got published. So my initial journey, if I would say, when I was a kid in a country, in a political country called Pakistan. So I was living in a city, Kasur, which is in fact a city created by Lord Ram for his second son. So Kasur was at the border of Firozpur. Kasur city is at the border of Firozpur city. So while living there on those years, back in late 60s, I got an idea. I was quite a kid at the time. I got an idea that I should start publishing a newspaper. I was at 7, 8 years, I think, old. So I was, so I thought I should, because my dad used to, read a local newspaper. I picked that newspaper. Each time I realized there is no story about my neighborhood. There were stories about, the subcontinent in that newspaper. There were stories about international scenario. And, those late 60s and early 70s was a time when there was no internet. There was no access to information the way we get access to information in our recent times. So my ambition was to create a newspaper that could tell my neighbors about our neighbor.
About
So
the latest events.
yes, about, I mean, like who married whom,
Uh-huh.
and what is our school doing,
All the
and what
interesting
is,
things. Yeah.
and what are the shops and the chai khanas we used to call. There
Uh-huh.
was no concept of coffee at the time,
Mm.
so chai khana, tea stall, what we used to call them.
Uh-huh.
So then I talked to a couple of my friends, and we bought like 10 sheets, the long chart size sheets.
Okay.
We bought a couple of those foots and pens and colored pencils, and we started drawing columns on those charts.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Mm.
so that we could create into a newspaper format. There's a headline on the top,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a small headline,
Oh, beautiful.
then the columns, and then I remember two of my friends were contributor at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we all together, created 10 newspaper copies written by hand. And we
God, what an
delivered
effort.
those 10 copies to tea stalls and to our school,
Mm.
because we realized in school our teachers and our
Mhm.
peers would be able to see those
Yes.
newspapers, handmade newspapers, I would say, handwritten
Mm.
newspaper. And in those tea stalls, we anticipated at a time people who would come for their tea and bun kebab sort of things. They would enjoy reading those newspapers. And those 10 copies really got popular. And two tea stall guys
Mm.
and our school, they actually started paying us.
Oh, really?
So that's the
At
kind of
that young age.
that young
And
age.
at that young age, what happens that kids, they want to be appreciated by their teachers first.
Right, right.
So that must be the reason why you people went to the school and gave it to your teachers so that they know what wonderful thing you are doing. And it
Yeah,
is so rare. I have never heard that kids of this age, you are saying 7 to 8, got
yes,
so thoughtful on their own. Nowadays, they are given projects.
yes.
And that too are, completed by the parents in most of the cases. But
Yes, yes.
in your case, you are saying young kids together, really appreciable.
Yeah. So that's the kind of start of this writing journey, I would say. And then later on, I wrote a couple of short stories when I was around 14, 15-year old. And then one of that short story got published later in a literary magazine in Pakistan. And I remember the short story, what I wrote at the age of 15. I actually got televised in Pakistan television,
Okay.
drama studio for about 30-minute duration as well.
Acha, acha.
So it's all about Sangeeta ji. It's all about finding meaningfulness of
Mm.
myself, nothing else. So
Mhm.
because whatever you write, whatever I write, in fact contribute to understand us. So that's the kind of reward I always look back,
Yes.
and that's the kind of reward. I mean, till now, I would say, I'm looking forward for that.
Yes. So, like, we have this existentialist literary writing. In literary writing, we have this movement also, and where they question about why our existence. Osborne's Look Back in Anger, there too. So, here they are doing it in literature, and there you did it in real life. So, you were searching for meaning, you were searching for um, why you were born and what should you do to fulfill your curiosity and all those things. So you were a very brilliant kid.
No, it's
Commendable.
not about. Thank you for your kind words, but it's not about brilliance. I would say it's about my own need.
Creativity.
Yes.
Yes, a very creative mind.
Yeah. One of the Urdu couplet written by one of my friend, his name is Abbas Tabish, I'll recite in Urdu. He wrote in his ghazal, "Sakute दहर रगों तक उतर गया होता, अगर मैं शेर न कहता तो मर गया होता." That meant that the silence of this universe would have killed me if I would not be writing, I would not be living on this planet. So that's the kind of rough translation of his couplet.
Yes, yes, it has told volumes about you as a person,
and
as
that's
a
the reality.
being,
That's the reality.
as an
Literature.
artist.
Literature is a very, very brutal enterprise. There were writers who wrote all their life. They were never recognized in their life. And then, after their demise,
Posthumous, yeah.
yes, then the people discovered them or rediscovered. Lucky writers, who got well recognition in their own.
Yeah.
So there is no hard and fast rule. So it's all about mysteries. Life itself is a mystery. Our universe is a mystery, and the journeys we go through are mysteries.
True.
And what mysteries strike one, no one knows.
Yes, that's true. Life is a big mystery. So thanks for this beautiful snapshot that told volumes about yourself as a kid, as a creative mind, as an artist. Would you like to tell us something more about the people who left strong influences on your mind that stayed on with you for years until now?
Yes, there were many, and there are many, in fact. Among those, not just the writers and artists, even some of the ordinary people, they created a huge influence and impact in my life. And some of the people whom I never met, they created a huge impact as well, who were writers, who were living far away in the world. I remember the way I started feeling about impact of people, not just on me, on the society, on this universe, was a short story writer, Ghulam Abbas.
I see.
I was in my teens when I read his short story. He had written that short stories, in fact, in 1940.
Okay.
He was the contemporary writer with Krishan Chandra, Rajendra Singh Bedi. They were of the same timeline, Ghulam Abbas. So Ghulam Abbas' story the title was Anandi. The story revolved around building of new city, in fact. How societies evolve. So when I read that short story, I pondered and I thought that there are human beings, because I was a teen, 12, 13-year-old, before writing my first short story. Thought there are people on this planet who explains complexities of life so well, so spontaneous. Because I thought that the philosophy is kind of a thing what one has to work a lot, one has to do a lot of research, one has to use lots of terminologies, because I was fond of reading a little bit philosophy even at that little age. But it never, entered into my soul, those philosophy books. They were so dense at my age at that time. But when I read Ghulam Abbas' short story, I realized, this kind of writing explains me about complexities of life, about complexities of universe even.
Mm-hmm.
In just a few pages.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a book of philosophy, which
Mm-hmm.
I was unable to understand. So I would say honestly, Ghulam Abbas was the first influence.
Okay.
You know, I still remember him, and still I read his that short story. And then now, I mean, I'm 60 plus now, and I have read some of the literature written by Western master writers. They have touched those, sort of areas of complex issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
But still, Ghulam Abbas, that short story, Anandi,
Acha.
haunts, haunts me. Is such a spectacular
Mm-hmm.
masterpiece written back in
Yes.
1940s.
True literature, we say, is that literature only that touches the hearts of the readers, moves their emotions, and makes them feel that, oh, even they have felt the same way on such occasions. So that is true literature. And here you are talking about Abbasji and his works, that how vividly emotions were described and life was described, and you felt touched and moved and inspired to write and to learn how to write. So that's the ripe age, actually, childhood and the teenage. So if the right seeds are sown into the minds, they then sprout up
Yeah,
when other ingredients get added, when you get the right atmosphere to write. Yes. So here you say that he was the main influence on you.
yeah, absolutely, he was.
Yes, yes. So, what have been the constraints, financial and other, of running a popular TV house in a landscape of corporatized media? Would you like to share that with us?
No, no, yes, yes, of course, of course. I started this TV thing myself and my wife back in 2014 uh, as a online TV, tag TV. But before that, we were in kind of a publishing industry for a long. Uh, I actually established a publishing company in Pakistan in 1986 when I was a third year student in medical college.
Okay.
Bec- because at that time I realized that publishers don't give royalty to the writers in that culture, and I realized that writers deserve that because I was a member of Halkar Babigok, which used to be very prestigious literary organization in Lahore,
Mm,
and
mm,
I was a regular visitor to Park Tea House,
mm,
where all those writers and journalists used to, get together, used to do their get-togethers
mhm,
almost every evening. So I was very much in touch at that time by 1986 to all major writers, journalists in Lahore. So my one of my friend, he published my first collection of short stories, I think in 1985.
oh,
So in that 1986, I thought, okay, I should start my own publishing
mm,
company. So I was a student at third year in medical college. At the same time, I started this publishing,
mhm,
and then I realized that publishing is a very very tough thing. I inherited some property, some money from my uh, parents because my grandparents basically they were well off, so
okay.
my father inherited from them. I lost almost uh, all that money in that passionate venture, I would say. So it was more emotional than commercial to me
Ah,
because it was related with the passion and the mission and
yeah,
all that,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yes, yes.
Uh, so I eventually I became the almost third largest publisher of Pakistan by 1995. In just time span, 8 years time span. So that publishing house, published all sorts of books, literature, philosophy, sociology, children books, in many languages. For instance, Urdu, of course, Punjabi, English. And then eventually I established this branch in Central Asia. There we started publishing in Uzbek and Russian languages.
Okay.
So that was the kind of a first venture in this publishing world. So when we moved to Canada in early 1999, I started publishing. In the meanwhile, while living in Soviet Union and former Soviet Union, I was contributing as freelance journalist to many media outlets, some of the Russian outlets, and some freelance I did with BBC as well. So when we moved to Canada in 1999, here I started weekly Urdu language newspaper. So I was sort of so tired of seeing hatred towards others, I would say, quote unquote, back in Pakistani newspapers and media. They were using abusive language against Jews, Hindus, even Christians. So I decided to not use any negative connotation against fellow human beings. So I was more critical towards, Pakistani sort of, I would say, unfortunately, let me say it, Pakistani mindset, calling others infidels and all those kind of bad names. So I was sick of that. So I was very critical of that attitude. So when I felt quite free myself while living in Canada, when I moved here, I thought, okay, now it's time to reflect back. So in my editorials, in my analysis, I always criticized that mindset. And in return, I got so much, reaction from the clergy of Pakistan, Pakistanis living in Toronto. They sort of banned my weekly newspaper entering their mosques here in Toronto. And they even, in one case, they even burned my newspaper in city of Mississauga. So all these things added financial constraints, of course, because all I was doing to inform the community about the enlightened thoughts. And of course, I needed money to print that newspaper, to pay off myself at least. So I could not continue that. Then I started delivering pizza, started driving taxi, and all those kind of things here in Canada.
I see.
Then eventually, one gentleman from Pakistani background, he started his online TV in 2000, I think 8 or 9, somewhere around there. But by that time, I got some job, some work. So he offered me to do a TV show. So I was doing TV show and all that kind of. I did a couple of TV shows on the plight of Hindu Pandits from Kashmir. So then the Pakistani consulate chased me, and they were not happy. They even threatened me here in Toronto.
My God.
So then that Pakistani fellow who started his online TV, he kicked me out from. Actually, he made a situation, and I decided to not work any longer with him. So then in 2013, roughly, I thought to start my own online TV, because now by that time, by 2013-14, everything is so internet based. So I mean, and since past 9-10 years since we started this TV, I mean, there were many financial constraints. There are still. I mean, it's not an easy road. It's not a bed of roses, I would say. It's a difficult thing. And especially with the kind of ideology, with the kind of, views, I share on my TV channel. So are not appreciated by all. But my Indian fellows, they really loved my ideas because I call myself, I'm a Hindu born in Muslim faith. So I'm clear in my thoughts. And my objective is not to provoke anyone. My objective is to express my views in a very responsible way, in a very journalistic way. I did my journalism degree here in Canada in 2007 and 2008. There was a special 2-year course, what they called it equivalent to sort of master degree. They started as Canadian journalism for internationally trained writers. That was a 2 years full-time course. So I did that. My teachers were very prominent, Canadian journalists and writers. And they were very happy with my journalism because I was already sort of a trained journalist. So I thought, okay, I should have Canadian stamp as well. So I got that stamp. But so far, as you mentioned, our television got more than 100 million views on YouTube. Yes. We have subscribers, 380,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Yes. So, our show, especially my show, Bila Takalluf, is quite popular. Some of the political commentary get, views, over 100,000 views just in few hours.
So what I understand is integrity has been the hallmark of your personality, whether when you were a kid or when you were a known journalist, you always thought of expressing your views freely. And being a true Democrat, you did that with boldness and with courage. So, well, Tahir brand has been the fiery brand of political journalism, bold, courageous, democratic, and liberal in these tough times of alt-right. So, may we know the challenges you faced while doing this?
Actually, you just said a big appreciation towards me, Tahir brand, and you said that integrity. I feel I hesitate to use sort of a big terminology.
Very modest.
It's not
very
about
grounded. I know that you are such a good human being who doesn't want to flaunt or even showcase, I should say, your virtues.
I don't know. There is. I don't see any virtue of myself because I believe in universe. Universe is my God. Universe is my creator. I'm very non-religious guy. I respect all religions, but universe is my creator. So I am a very tiny part of this universe. So there is nothing I see something very spectacular within myself. I don't own any spectacular thing because I just borrow universe, qualities. These are not mine qualities. So, I really feel that way. It's not just expressing sort of a humbleness in your show. I actually feel that way. That whatever my friends see in me, is because of the reflection of universe. I am nobody. I'm just a creature. So that's why I believe in our Hindu civilization, which teaches us about nothingness of ourselves. You know, and it's not just to showcase something. It's just to live in that state of affairs. So as I said earlier, that is all about meaningfulness of one's own self. It's not about that I would be looking meaningfulness in Dr. Sunil Sharma or in Dr. Sangeeta Sharma. I have to look meaningfulness in Tahir Gora. So if there is any brand could be associated to me, it is that brand, which is the universal itself. I am a part of the universe, a very, very tiny, unknown, unseen part of the universe. So I just,
atom.
yeah, I just contribute that. So yes. Now in terms of this worldly affairs, the universe had made me to contribute few things, for instance. Like, for instance, on India-Pakistan relations and civilizational issues. Political issues are very small. Civilizational issues are very big. When I was teen, I started thinking about myself. मैं कौन हूँ? Who am I? That was the question. Then I read Bulle Shah. I was brought up in a city called Kasur, and Bulle Shah belongs to Kasur. I used to go to his town. I used to read his poetry. So Bulle Shah said, I know only one thing, that I don't know anything. So Bulle Shah was my teacher. Bulle Shah was my prophet. So I started absorbing Bulle Shah because he was my neighbor. He passed away back in 1600s, but he lived so close to my heart, so close. His graveyard was just a couple blocks away from my home. I used to go there. I used to read his Punjabi poetry. And I absorbed his poetry, and I realized that Bulle Shah is my teacher. So anyhow, the contribution I did, if I, actually it's not what I did, universe made me to do. That was, I created sort of a portal of YouTube channels. I am one of the pioneers in YouTube world.
Okay.
In terms of when it comes to Sindhu civilization, when it comes to Sanatani civilization. So I stirred my debate with my friend, late Tariq Fatah. So his and mine first show got viral in India back in 2011 when the YouTube was a new entity. That show got millions and millions of views. And at that time, now you can see people talking what I talk, so many people on YouTube. But I take pride saying in it that the universe made me to do that at a very, very preliminary level when nobody was touching those sensitive issues. Myself and some of my colleagues touched those sensitive issues through my show, and we landed in India at that time. India learned about all those views because India is a very shy society. And they don't want to idealize my, because I'm Indian as well. So I realize my fellow Indians are very shy, shy of their, shy of expressing about their religion, shy of expressing about their civilization. So we just, Tariq Fatah, me and many others in my show, we just asked our fellow Indians and particularly Hindu brothers and sisters that please, wake up, own your contribution, own your civilization's contribution. I realized that I'm not, I don't come from Arab ancestry. I come from My grandparents were absolutely, they were Hindus. They were connected with the land of that region.
Yes.
So we are not something like that. That's why I wrote that novel, Al-Pakistan,
Mm.
in Hindi and in Urdu, as you mentioned. So, I mean, our ancestry is our Sindhu civilization.
Okay. So whether you admit it or not, we know what all you have done, and I salute you to your courage, to your boldness, to your patience, to your humility, and to Tahir Gora, the great
Thank you
human
for
being.
encouraging my soul. Thank you.
You are a multilingual and equally at ease in Urdu, Punjabi, Hindi, English, and Russian, among others, a rare polyglot. So, what's the secret behind this unique talent for acquisition of languages, where the languages are being devalued in this age?
Very
And the
important
subject,
question.
especially.
No, very important question. First, I don't claim that I'm fluent in Russian. When we were living in Central Asia, uh, we knew Russian to some extent. We could, speak Russian to some extent. Um, so we were okay in terms of, having our daily chores handled
Mhm.
in that part of the world. But it's been now almost 25 years. We are living in Canada. So that sort of a little grip on the Russian language is not anymore. But still, I mean, Halima and I can understand when people speak Russian
Mhm.
with each other, when we encounter Russian somewhere in the market.
Mhm.
So the secret, I mean, like, of course, Punjabi, Hindi, and and Urdu, I
Mhm.
call they are very sister languages,
Okay.
and they are Indian languages. Many Indian think that Punjabi is Pakistani. Sorry, Urdu is a Pakistani language. It's not. Pakistan, the country, based on the demographies and the region, does not have Urdu in their portfolio because Baloch people, they don't. Urdu is not their language. In Punjab, which was amputated from India as a result of partition. In Punjab, there was no Urdu, it was Punjabi there. In Sindh, there's a Sindhi there.
Mhm.
Uh, Urdu actually came to Pakistan from India when as a result of 1947 unethical partition, I call it,
Mhm.
when some of the families and people moved from UP, Delhi, CP at the time they used to call what we call today Hyderabad and all those areas. They brought Urdu from India.
Mhm.
So, in short, what I want to say that Urdu, Punjabi, and Hindi, they are Indian languages, and they are sister languages. So, if you know any of these languages,
Mhm.
I'm sure that you would know those neighboring or sister languages
Mhm.
flavor as well.
Mhm.
So it was not a big thing to know all these three languages. Yes, of course, you increase your proficiency in any language by reading
Mhm.
primarily, and then writing, and then speaking.
Yes.
Because as a writer, I was so indulgent to reading Punjabi literature written by Amartya Pritam, Shivakumar Bhatalvi, Bulle Shah, so many great writers. So my proficiency in
Mhm.
Punjabi language got
Mhm.
improved.
Okay.
Same was the case with Urdu, because I was a keen reader of Urdu literature, written by, as I mentioned earlier, Rajendra Singh Bedi, Ram Lal, Krishan Chandra. They all were writing in Urdu. The names are not maybe Pakistani names. So,
Mhm.
what does that tell us? That Urdu was and is Indian language. So what we call today Hindustani Bhasha.
Is a
So there
mix
is,
of.
there's a script difference.
Mm.
Devanagari
Yes.
is in what we call Hindi Sanskrit,
Hmm.
and Persian script is in Urdu.
Hindi and Urdu is almost the same. The
Absolutely.
words of Hindustani are Urdu words. And
Yes.
Urdu, of course, has a lot of Hindi words. So they are almost the same, hand in hand. They go hand in hand. Like it's difficult to separate the two while you speak in Hindi or while you speak in Urdu.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So, I mean, coming back to your main question about those languages.
Mhm.
So, this is the secret of knowing these three languages because they are very next to each other.
Mhm. Yes.
And then the English, in our South Asia is a language in colleges, universities, though I never studied in what we used to call English medium school.
Okay.
So now, I mean, I see the kids, even in Pakistan, in India, they are much better in spoken English because of the internet.
Mhm. Yes.
So internet helped them to improve their colloquial, you know,
Languages are
the-
basically learned by the environment only. So if the environment is given, if you are reading, if you are exposed to that language.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
I remember in a couple of years back in Hamilton, I was running a small business in Hamilton. So I asked one of the guy, English guy, an old guy who was working as a cleaner in my that restaurant pub I used to
Okay.
have.
Mhm.
So I gave him. His name was Bill. I gave him sort of an address. I
Mhm.
said, "Please, Bill, go there and bring this stuff for me."
Mhm.
He said, "Tahir, I can't read." I said, no, we have a perception in South Asia, whoever speaks English is a
Huh.
very, very well-read person.
Yes, yes.
He said, it's my language, I can speak,
Mm.
but I never went to school.
Mm.
And that was a shocking revelation to me. An English
Yes.
person told me a couple of years back in
Mm.
Hamilton that he cannot read. And he
Uh,
then mentioned in his neighborhood, there
uh,
were many people who didn't go to school back in 1940s, 1950s. He
mm.
was an old man.
Yes, yes.
So, I mean, then I laughed and I said that in our culture, a person who speaks English is considered a very, well-read person.
Yes, very
And
advanced. Yeah,
that,
sophisticated.
and this person cannot read. And I worked with the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Imran Khan. I was his big fan because I never met him because he was a stardom. But when I met him, he could speak English, and then I realized his vocabulary in English is very much limited because he was not a good student in Oxford University. He was just a cricket player.
Okay. I
So, I mean, so English, of course, has always been a foreign language for me because I
Mhm.
never studied in English medium school. But I read the literature. I
Mhm.
I I read the literature in English language a lot, so that helped me to to comprehend this language to some
Mhm.
extent.
Mhm. So I'm truly impressed by the knowledge of your different languages, whatever may be the manner in which you picked up and the way you improved. Reading, of course, is the best way to improve upon any of the languages. So now we move on to the next. You write poetry and prose, long and short forms. So what similarities and differences do you find in these two literary forms?
This question is very dear to my heart. In fact,
Mm.
um, I tried writing ghazal
Mhm.
long time ago when I entered in this political in this literary arena.
Mhm.
But I found myself quite unfit in that kind of, techniques of ghazals.
I.
Those are very, delicate techniques. But I needed to express myself.
Mm.
Then I moved on to writing fiction, short stories. So short stories were very dear to me, as I mentioned, that the first person and the first writing, motivated me was written by Ghulam Abbas, short story. So then I wrote a couple of short stories and they got published. And then I realized that some of the feelings, some of the imaginaries, some of the uh, sort of perceptions and contexts I cannot express uh, in fiction. So I started writing prose poetry. So
Okay.
there a lot of debate in Pakistan on those days, and I'm sure in India would be as well. That prose poetry a poetry? We are kind of a very sort of a conventional societies in South Asia. So even our writers, they put lots of rules and regulations. Some rules and regulations are worthy to follow, but some rules and regulations are based on our tribal attitude. Let me say it this way: we are very much kind of a conventional, traditional. Some things are good in that way, but some don't work. So even while living in Pakistan, when I studied Pablo Neruda, and some modern writers, some modern poets. So I realized they don't write in sort of a lyrical way. Some of them write both, genre. Some was writing in prose poetry as well as in very conventional poetry too. So I thought there is a provision available to express yourself in a prose poem. Because what is the difference between poetry and fiction, in my perception? Poetry, no matter what form you write in, uh, is a metered form or is a free verse form, there is there must be a poetic expression in it. That in short sentences, in short lines, you express touching things. That was my perception about poetry. That is my perception about poetry even today. Yeah, like in few words, whether they are knitted in metered form or they are in free verse, one should be able to express poetic expression. If there is a poetic expression in few words, is poetry for me.
Yes, true.
Yeah. And fiction is kind of a very well organized piece of writing, where you have to go by paragraphs, you have to complete the sentences, you have to narrate the whole scenario, you have to bring the characters. So all that thing is a fiction. My fellow writers and journalists sometimes argue with me. They themselves are good writers. They say, okay, we only accept poetry in metered form. So I say, okay, then the poetry written in free verse is different than the fiction, because fiction is kind of a very, very complete sentences. Free verse poetry is about expressing the feelings in a very short, in a very crispy, in a very spontaneous way.
Yes.
So this is a very clear perception that got developed over the years in me about the difference between poetry and fiction. I really appreciate Hindi ghazal, Urdu fiction, Urdu ghazal a lot, which is a very, metered poetry, which is very, concise poetry. I love those couplets. But also I love reading free verse poetry, written by so many poets of South Asian origin. So I continue writing poetry as well as fiction. In fiction, I write short stories, I write novels, I write articles about critical issues, I write non-fiction things, I write politics. So fiction, I mean, like what we call, what's the exact word? Fiction and non-fiction uh, is a different uh, thing to write, and poetry is a different world.
True. All literary forms, I feel they are very challenging in their own way, because poetry is condensed expression. Terseness is to be observed, and sublimity too is to be brought. And of course, modern poetry is totally different now. As you said, there is free verse, blank verse, rhyme is not necessary. But then again, it is challenging because and in all these forms, short story, as you said, that is all the more challenging, because there's a setting, there's a plot, there's a subplot sometimes, there are characters, and then there is expression, the style of writing. So many things, and um, startling beginning and surprising end, sometimes a twist in the story, the twist in the tale that we call it. So that and novel, all the more challenging because it is so long and so many characters are to be introduced. You have to do justice with the characters. You have to make them well-rounded. You can't just create flat characters. And then you have to build up. There's a climax, there is denouement, or there is resolution. So many things are to be observed. So all the forms, what you said is so true. They are very challenging in their own way. But at the same time, earlier you were saying that people were not happy with your unrhymed poems or the prose poems. So that is also acceptable now, being modern age. In the name of postmodernism and experimentation, people are accepting new forms. So this is one of the latest, I feel, prose poems, and I appreciate it deeply, because that is also not everyone's cup of tea. Like, you have to train your mind, and you have to work and rework, edit and re-edit, and only then you reach perfection in it. So you are doing a great job while writing, creating prose poems. Well, your novel Al-Pakistan, I have it with me here, in Urdu and Hindi, was launched at the Press Club of India, Delhi, recently, and has been widely received and appreciated. So please tell us the background of your famous novel, Al-Pakistan. What prompted you to think of it, and then how did you start writing it?
As I was talking earlier, while responding to one of your questions, that Al-Pakistan novel is about cultural civilizational crisis of Pakistanis.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about the crisis about Pakistanis. I feel sorry to say that it's a cultural civilizational crisis of most Muslims in subcontinent.
Mm.
Because the Muslims, the religion Islam came from Arab. Arabs understand their religion, their civilization better than any South Asian Muslim, because the Quran is in their language, the heritage, Islamic heritage is their language. They are not obsessive to the religion the way our South Asian Muslims are. The obsession of South Asian Muslims is to the extent in subcontinent that they don't want to, sort of affiliate themselves with their own Hindu civilization. They want to distance themselves from their own roots. They say, oh, no, no, we don't belong to this root. Our ancestors come from Central Asia, or Arab, and all that thing. So I had seen so many car number plates in Pakistan when I was living there. The car number plates were Al-Pakistan. Because the Pakistan word is a South Asian or Turkish origin word. Means like from Uzbekistan. Means Satan means in Turkish and in Persian languages, Satan means place to live. So Uzbekistan means a place for Uzbek people. Afghanistan, place for Afghan people. Kyrgyzstan, place for Kyrgyz people. Tajikistan, place for Tajik people. So when the Pakistan got carved out as a result of amputation of India, so the people over there and their elite, their political elite, they thought, okay, this word Pakistan is a very good, because it comes from Central Asian origin. From the very beginning, they had sort of a lie embedded in their new country. So now they named it after, Turkish Afghan tradition. Pakistan, they named it after Turkish. And then later on, maybe Pakistanis realized, oh no, actually we are not even of that descendant. We come from Arabs. And on the other hand, I've been to Arab Peninsula many times. Arabs don't care about Pakistani claims. I mean, let me say it in a very frank sentence. They give damn to Pakistani claim. Arabs are Arabs. They know their civilization. Like my name is actually Arab name, but it's not Muslim name. People don't understand, because that's what was being told to me by an Arab fellow. He said, Tahir, we do have Christians with your name. We do have Yazidi with your name. Tahir is not an Islamic name, it's an Arabic name. By default, our majority population became Muslims, but still there are Tahir in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Syria, who are Christians. Because Tahir is not an Islamic name, it's an Arabic name. So this is the deep thing being told to me by an Arab. But Pakistanis don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because they were created, the inception of Pakistan is based on hatred towards Hindus, unfortunately and sadly. That's what the two-nation theory is. That we are different from Hindus. It's a perception based on hatred, I would say. So all these things are always, jumbled up in my mind for so long. So all those ideas, all those, complex things finally came up in a shape of Al-Pakistan. So as you can see the picture on the title, one is Mr. Imran Khan, who was the former, actually, Prime Minister of Pakistan, with whom I worked for a few weeks. And the other guy is Pakistan's retired army general now. When I wrote this novel, he was the army general. Is the Qamar Javed Bajwa. So this is a very satirical title, telling Pakistan that you think, by wearing all that Arab attire, you think you are no longer Indian origin. Think you are now Al-Pakistani. Because in Arabic world, Pakistan is not pronunciate Pakistan. They don't have P. So they use Ba. Yes, Pakistan. Because I can read Arabic because of my proficiency reading in Urdu. I can read Persian. I can understand a little bit Arabic as well. So they have Pakistan. And in Arabic language, Al means the. They use Al a lot, even for people name and all that. Al-Pakistan, the Pakistan. Because, so this is a satirical and humorous take on their sort of a claim that they are Arabs, not Indians. So then, in this very short novel, just in 100 plus pages, I have portrayed the whole scene of unfortunate Pakistani mindset. So this novel, you would be surprised to know, got more popular in Pakistan than in India. Initially, I thought maybe Indians, because they are so upset about Pakistan's ongoing terrorism and all those kind of stupid mindset, that this novel would be very much appreciated in India. But actually, it got viral through WhatsApp, because in the hard copies of this novel could not go to Pakistan because they would ban it.
Okay.
They already sort of banned, unofficially banned, my previous novel, Rang Mahal, which got published with the Tehzeeb-e Ranjishein later on. So this novel got so popular through WhatsApp, because now the new technology.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any monetary benefit, neither my publisher, but we got lots of readership from that. Some of the top politicians, I don't want to name here, they contacted me and they said, "We have read your novel. How could we get the hard copy?" I said, I can ask my publisher in India to send you, but there is no mail going, I heard, from India to Pakistan because of it. So
can
just
directly order online.
Yes, they can get from Dubai and all that kind of stuff. So coming back to your basic question in that regard, so that cultural civilizational crisis, made me to write this novel, and it is a good novel. I'm not saying because I wrote that, but I enjoy reading my novel.
Yeah, I also enjoyed. I read a few pages, but they were quite enticing.
Yeah, it's a very fast-paced novel. Just in 100 pages, I have covered, 15 years timeline and lots of happenings in Pakistan, just in 100 pages. So it's a very fast-paced novel.
These are some very interesting details you shared with us, with me, with the viewers. Thanks for that. You also spoke about the wonderful reception this book received. Yeah. Just the other day on Kindle, I came across this comment regarding Tehzeeb-e Ranjishein, that after the iconic Saadat Hasan Manto, you are the next most vital voice in Urdu literature. So may we know what has been the inspiration behind this novel?
When I wrote this Tehzeeb-e Ranjishein novel, originally it got published in Karachi with the title Rang Mahal. So I just wrote, I just reflected cultural clashes of Pakistanis who live here in Canada with their host society, which is the Canada, of course. So I just wrote on those, and there are some sort of very bold scenes about some of the characters, about their sexuality and all those things. And as a writer, I just wrote my novel and got published, and the story was done. But then someone picked it up in Pakistan, and I didn't know the gentleman. His name, probably Irfan Javed, Mr. Irfan Javed. He wrote a very positive review on my novel in Pakistan's very prestigious, magazine. Is called The Friday Times, owned by Mr. Najam Sethi. So Irfan Javed wrote a review on my novel in that, and someone else sent me the review back in 2014, I think he wrote that. And then he used all those, appreciation, what you just mentioned. Then I started thinking, did I write in that context? So then I realized, okay, I didn't write in that context, but it happened spontaneously, unconsciously. So
Unintentionally, yeah.
unintentionally, unconsciously, I would say unconsciously. Why I'm emphasizing this word? Because it was not even in my back of mind.
Correct. Yeah.
Because the characters themselves force me to narrate that kind of scenes.
Mm.
So then this novel, Tehzeeb-e Ranjitein, what got published in Rang Mahal, was asked by Pakistani intelligence to some of the booksellers. I was in publishing business, as I mentioned. So I do have still many booksellers, my friends. One of the booksellers WhatsApped me and said that some people came from intelligence, Pakistani intelligence. They asked us to remove your novel from the shelves.
Oh my God.
So, that was the thing. So, Tehzeeb-e Ranjishein has been translated from Rang Mahal to Hindi, Tehzeeb-e Ranjishein, and now its English translation is complete as well. So maybe someone would publish that. But in the meanwhile, I'm more focused on other books. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, we wish you the best for the English translation. Tell us more about your current or forthcoming literary projects, if you're
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Uh, Let me give you a very short picture of what I've written, like 3 collections of short stories from 1985 until 1997. Then I had written a novel back in 1992 in Urdu that got published in Tashkent, in Uzbek and Russian languages. So that novel was about the political scenario of 1990s situation in Pakistan. Its title was Mohlat, Respite. Then this novel came after a long interval, Rang Mahal in 2013, got published in Karachi.
Okay.
Published in India later on as Tehzeeb-e Ranjishein. So then after that, Al-Pakistan got published actually probably in February this year from India. And then recently, my 2 other novels came out. One is, multiculturalism in COVID times.
Okay.
Because we went through horrible, pandemic from 2020 January to until, still we have COVID, but now the world has overcome it. So during that time, I wrote that novel, and it got published recently in India. And then my another novel, is also in the process now. Upcoming projects. One novel is already written about my, experiences, life experiences in Central Asia. It's called Ek Namukammal Zindagi. So that would be published. It's already completed. That would be published sometime, maybe next year. And now I'm writing another novel. I haven't decided a title for it yet. It's just written almost half text yet. The other day, if you remember, I shared some of the extract from that novel. It is about, now I'm bored in terms of writing all the time on South Asian issues or complexities. I wanted to write something about Canadians.
Okay.
I feel that for the past 25 years, I have sort of a lived Canadian life, though I live mainly South Asian life, even in 25 years, because my family is of South Asian background. And South Asian culture is beautiful. Our family is beautiful. But the thing is, the land where we are living, we should reflect about that land too. So by wearing the South Asian lens, I am writing about Canadian characters. So that is the new venture I'm working on.
And your perspective would definitely be a very fresh perspective.
Yes, I'm trying my best
with
because
such varied experiences.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we live in a very complex world, so much political correctness, so much, appeasement and all that kind of a thing. Writers are no longer sort of free to write freely, honestly, I can tell you. So I exercise my free,
But
free
still,
expression
you
in
are
that.
managing so many projects
Yeah,
simultaneously, along with TAG TV assignments. So that's again to be commended. Um, we wish you all the success for your
thank,
forthcoming projects, for early completion of your projects.
thank you.
The Canadian South Asian Literary Festival, organized by you, was a great success. So, what have been your general observations about this multilingual festival?
Yeah, because when I moved to Canada in 1999, I started reading books written by writers of South Asian origin who were living in Canada, like Michael Ondaatje, Vasanji,
Mhm.
Robinson Mistry, so many names.
Mm.
So now, I mean, especially during the past 5, 10 years, there are so many new, young, emerging writers who are of South Asian origin, who were either born here in Canada or they migrated as kids from India. So I enjoy reading their stuff. So I thought that there are dozens and dozens uh, writers of South Asian origin who get published by Canadian mainstream authors. And then I'm familiar with hundreds and hundreds writers and poets who write in Punjabi, Urdu, Hindi, Gujarati, Sindhi, Tamil, Kashmiri, so many South Asian languages. So I thought there is no such an attempt, such an effort I have seen that anyone has gathered writers of all those backgrounds and so that was kind of the idea behind it.
Mhm.
So this was the festival attended by many, including yourself and Dr. Sunil Sharma, and you are the witness of the ideas and
Yeah,
witness of
in just 1 year, it has gained immense
yes.
popularity.
Yes. So we are on this project. Halima and I are on this project. We are looking forward to have our second festival sometime in summer 2024. But we are already working on the whole idea how to go next level in our
Mhm.
next festival. So it was a great success.
Mhm.
It was a great buzz. It was a great call and even CBC wrote a wonderful piece on
Mm.
our festival. So I think we will definitely go next level with the help of all our fellow writers like yourself.
Yes.
And also, we are engaging now different ideas. We'll bring more in some of the Canadian, quote unquote, Canadian writers, not Canadian writers of South Asian origin, but Canadians. So we want to, connect writers with each other. We want to connect people with each other. That's our sort of a speciality, our expertise from a
Yeah.
very long time.
Mm.
So that is the speciality, our expertise going to be reflected again in our next festival.
Yes, many more writers may be looking forward to the event of the next year and joining it. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So we wish you the best for that. Any message for the audience?
Very simple one line message. Keep doing what you have to do. So everyone is a special person, gifted by God, universe, whatever you call universe, because my creator, my God is the universe, as I mentioned.
Mhm.
So everyone has a special duty assigned by the Lord, God,
The
universe. I don't
Almighty.
want to sound like a religious guy, but
Mhm.
I'm saying it through spiritual lens, through even scientific lens.
Mm.
You know, Because everyone has a special thing to do. And there are so many people, unfortunately, who are not even able to discover their abilities. That is so sad to witness. But if some of us, get this opportunity to discover oneself own, then at least keep doing what you have.
Yes, that's true. In the best possible manner.
Yes.
You should deliver, and each one of us has a purpose in life. We have been sent to this world with a purpose. So
Absolutely.
let's try to find that out and deliver it in the best possible manner. Thank you so much for your kind words. So well said. Such an inspiring message. Thank you so much for your quality time and support. It has been a real engaging conversation. May you touch new heights in the coming years. May you get more awards and recognition in the coming years. All the best from Setu. In the next episode, we will be back again with yet another important guest with us. Till then, thank you, Tahir ji. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.